Be sure to bring your A game if you want your offer entertained. Sellers or buyers could also choose to cancel. So every day that a buyer does not find a home that they get in contract with and lock their rate is another potential for the rate to hike up. Because of that rate, their mortgage is getting more and more expensive. So that's what every buyer right now is competing against. Not just inventory, not just other buyers, but rate. A mistake that you can make as a first-time home buyer is not listen to your trusted here's what's going on with a lot of buyers right now, okay? They are having to bid again, overbid, especially if it's a new home that just came on the market like this one and this one. If it's gonna go pending under 2 weeks, be sure to bring your A game if you want your offer entertained. Meaning, buyers are bidding 10, 20, even 50 to 60,000 above list price. Okay, so this home for sure is gonna probably get close to 500K. So what I'm telling my clients right now that are looking is, if your max budget that Lisa approved you at is, let's say, 500K, try to leave buffer, meaning don't look at homes at 500K. So this home would probably not be a home you want to look at. Here's why. It's gonna be very competitive because now you did not give yourself any buffer to bid and compete with the competition. It's already at 500K. That's already your max budget. And if you bid over, are you going to be okay with the over budget? Because if you're not, that's why I'm always telling my clients, right, leave at least $50,000 a buffer. So that way you can look at homes around this price range, 450. And then if there's competition, you could bid up to 500K. Now, that leads me to my next question I always get asked. But Chia, if I go my max on this home, that's 50,000 above. What if the home does not appraise? If the home doesn't appraise, then you negotiate again for the sellers to reduce. What if the sellers don't want to reduce? So here's a few things that could happen. A seller could say, hey, you submitted 500K. I want 500K, even though it appraised at 450 only. You better come up with a difference in cash of $50,000 and your mortgage lender will give me the 450. That's one scenario. The second scenario is the sellers could say, let's meet in the middle. You submitted 500K, the home appraised at 450. I want 470. So you give me 20K outside of escrow or on top of your appraised amount. Or the third option could be, heck, seller doesn't agree. Seller doesn't want to get the home appraised at that amount. They're demanding a second appraisal. Well, that means your whole file to your loan now has to be restarted. Your loan rate is going to have to be relocked. Everything has to be redone now in order to order a new appraiser. And if a second appraiser comes in, what if it's still at 450? Then from there, negotiations again. Sellers or buyers could also choose to cancel because there is no agreed upon option or solution. That's what you guys need to understand if you guys are in the market right now, is if it does not appraise, that's what you're going to have to deal with. And what you will lose is your inspection fees if you order inspections for the home. And no, it is different from appraisal. 2 of those inspections will run you close to 1,000, give or take, okay? You're not going to get that back because the inspections were already performed. What you can get back is your deposit, whatever amount that was, as long as you have not removed your 3 contingencies. There's 3 contingencies you guys need to worry about if you're a buyer. Sellers need to worry about this too. The first one is inspections. If they did inspections and inspection passed and it's good with flying colors, you could remove that now. That means you can no longer go back and use the inspection as an excuse to back out and get your deposit. The second contingency is your appraisal. Like what we mentioned, if the price did not appraise at the offer price and there's no negotiations that went well between the 2 parties and there's no solution and you cancel, you can exercise your appraisal contingency and get your deposit back. But let's say appraisal came back with flying colors and you remove it, you can no longer use that as a option to cancel and get your deposit back. The last and third contingency is your loan contingency. For whatever reason, you don't get the loan because your credit change, the lender or loan officer that you're working with happens to not be Lisa and did not see that you have some student loans that was also attached to your debt. Now that gets factored in. You're no longer qualified to buy a home at 500K. You can utilize that loan contingency and cancel, get your deposit back. So those are the three contingencies that will protect your deposit in case there is a cancellation that occurs. You will not be removing these contingencies without talking to your agent. Three separate conversations, okay? Because there's three contingencies that you will have with your agent. You have to sign a contingency removal form with your agent before it gets removed. If I don't feel good about advising my clients to remove that contingency, I will advise them. And from there, if they decide they don't want to remove it or they do want to remove it, it is their decision.
The contingencies are basically, change that word to say protection, your protection, right? So let me share with you guys the story. This didn't happen to me. It happened to a colleague of mine. And they did remove all contingencies as normal. They didn't come in that way, but they removed the contingency and everything like that. And just so that you know, right before you fund your loan, okay, typically it's 10 days before, okay, they'll call into the quality control department, will call into your employer and say, hey, we just want to make sure they're still employed. If you decide to quit at that time, or if your company has had a layoff, for my colleague, it was because he didn't even know that he was going to get laid off until he was doing this loan process. One of the questions that they asked was like, hey, what's the likelihood of this employee continuing work at your place? And they say, well, unfortunately, it's highly unlikely because we're laying everybody off, and this is one of the people that's getting laid off. Wow. This person already removed all their contingencies. And because of that experience, even though it didn't happen to me, I never advised to come in that way, because now you're basically coming in saying that it's like, I don't want to be protected. I'm cool. I'm going to, forego my $15,000. Now, if you work for the state, if you work for healthcare, if you work for big companies like that, and you know that that is a very, very small chance. The borrower that my colleague had, they thought their job was pretty secure too, because this company has been around for more than 50 years. And it was just devastating for them. And they fought tooth and nail to try to get that back. But unfortunately, when you remove all of that, it's
going to be hard.
That's it. Yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult. So just be careful of that. Yes, it's great to be competitive. Be as competitive as you possibly can. She's going to go over what steps that you can be to be as competitive as possible without having to deal with all of those, what ifs and stuff like that. We can shorten it. We can do loans that's much faster and everything. But I definitely don't recommend that.
Adding to what Lisa said, what if you don't remove your contingencies, right? Well, the sellers could send a notice to perform. What that form is for is to notify you that you have 3 days from receiving that notice to perform letter. You have 3 days to remove that contingency. And if you don't, sellers have the right to cancel and put the home back on the market, and of course, give your deposit back. Because there's a timeline, okay? General timeline for each contingency is 17 days for appraisal and inspection contingencies. For the loan, it's normally 21 days, unless you or your agent modify it to make your offer stand out. Okay?
Yeah.
And right now, a lot of buyers are modifying their terms, meaning they're shortening up their escrow periods because their lender feels comfortable it'll close within 21 days instead of the normal 30 or 45 days. And they're comfortable with ordering inspections under 7 days, ordering appraisals under 7 days, removing or getting conditional approval for the loan under 12 days. Okay, so that's what a lot of buyers are doing for their offers right now. Some buyers are so aggressive, they're even going in with an offer with no contingencies.
Yep.
So right off the gate, their offer is already non-refundable. That's the competition right now. Many people are doing that. I mean, cash buyers are still in the market.
Yeah.
Cash buyers don't need loan contingencies or appraisal contingencies. They're not getting a mortgage. The lender is not requiring an appraisal to go out there
Yeah.
to make sure that the value is there because it's all cash.
Yep. Yep.
So the only contingency they have is the inspection. And if they remove that too, imagine a seller receiving 20 offers on a home, right? Like, let's just say it's this home right here, okay? And there's an all cash offer, and then the other rest are loans. That cash offer is gonna stand out for a lot of sellers because the terms are much sexier. There's more risk for the buyer, less risk for the seller. Because if the buyer cancels, the seller just made an extra side money from taking over the deposit. And they
Yep.
can always put their home back on the market for the next pool of buyer that's still interested in their home.
Let's just say, for instance, there is a seller. They're not in a rush to move or anything like that. It's like, cool, I haven't even found my next house yet. I'm okay. So they're not desperate.
That is correct, because inventory is low, but demand is still there, and buyers still need a home.
Yep.
See, right now, buyers are racing against one another in a marathon. Each time they
Yeah.
go past a lap, interest rates are higher. Every day, interest rates are going up, right? Or going down. It's fluctuating, okay?
Yeah. It's
Every day, interest
fluctuating.
rate
It's
fluctuates.
been, yeah, it's been in the high six for at least 2 months now.
So every day that a buyer does not find a home that they get in contract with and lock their rate is another potential for the rate to hike up. And now
Yeah.
their payments went up, but their price range stays the same. But because of that rate, their mortgage is getting more and more expensive. So that's what every buyer right now is competing against. Not just inventory, not just other buyers, but rates. And
Right.
each month, as you guys saw from the data, price is going up. That's what a lot of buyers right now are competing against. Unfortunately, we're telling you this not to scare you guys. We just want you guys
Yeah.
to be well prepared. A mistake that you can make as a first-time home buyer is not listen to your trusted agent that you chose to hire or chose to
Right.
work with. If you chose to work with that agent from the first place to help you find your home, trust their advice.
I mean,
Okay?
when you interview them, definitely ask them, it's like, hey, how do you normally put in an offer? And Chi and his team has always been very consistent, very clean. Everything is submitted. Everything is laid up so easily for the listing agent to understand what that offer is. And I tag team with his team as well. And I call into the listing agent, and right now, 9 out of 10 times the listing agents are just so inundated they don't even pick up the phone. I'm gonna tell you, we don't leave voice messages or text anymore. I leave a video message so they'll remember me, and most of the time I get a pretty darn good response. So as long as you tag team with people who are, incentivized always to have your best interest at heart, we be creative, we stand out for you.